Jeremy Taylor says, I have a question. I introduced my 15-year-old daughter to your music. She is suicidal at times and gets depressed. She was wondering what pulled you out of your depression and what made you rise up. Jeremy Taylor, that is a really difficult question. It's always very difficult for me to answer questions or lend advice in regards to mental health stuff because I don't think I'm necessarily qualified. I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to school for this stuff. I'm not a therapist, not a guidance counselor. I don't feel like I'm necessarily qualified to answer questions on this topic. It's like lately I've been getting a lot of requests to go on different podcasts and do different interviews and be on the news and blah, 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 blah. And most of the people that want me on their podcasts and to do interviews with, they're political shows. And it's like all they do is like talk about politics all the time. And they're like political scientists and ethics experts and like shit like that. And it's just like, man, like, I don't feel like I'm qualified to be on your show talking to you about politics. Like, I don't know any more about politics than anybody else does. I'm just looking at this shit as a regular person, having regular person feelings, and then putting regular person feelings in rhyming form into songs and putting them out into the world. Like, I'm not a fucking expert on any of that shit. Not by a long shot, you know? So yeah, I feel like I'm not super qualified to be answering those things. All I can tell you about mental health and depression and shit like that, all I can tell you is what my experience has been and what works for me. And what works for me doesn't always work for the next man or the next young lady, or won't necessarily work for anybody else. But here's some sort of universally applicable advice to people who suffer from anxiety and depression. And without getting too deep into things, this is just the simplest way that I can put it, okay? Depression and anxiety come from somewhere. The only way to effectively deal with these things and combat these things in a healthy way is to understand why these things are happening to you and find the root of that pain. And I did a lot of reading and I did a lot of research and I did a lot of exploring on the internet and talking to other people and speaking with doctors and speaking with therapists. I did a lot of research so I could try to understand where the root of my anxiety and depression came from. And what I've found, and there's a lot of different things. A lot of different things can contribute to depression. There's a book I have called Lost Connections. And it's essentially like 8 or 9 points that contribute to why some people get depressed. So I would definitely suggest you look into that book, Lost Connections. It was really important in my healing process. But this is what I've found. Depression and anxiety come from somewhere. Depression tends to come from things that have happened in the past, negative things that have happened in the past, and we can't let go of those negative feelings. And they sort of fester and ruminate inside us and create a depressive atmosphere. Anxiety tends to come from the future. Things that haven't happened yet. Things that we worry about happening, but haven't happened, but they might as well have happened because we're experiencing the emotions as if they already have. Depression tends to come from the past experiences. Anxiety tends to come from the fear of future experiences. If you can find a way to live in the present moment, that is the only way to find any type of tangible immunity from anxiety and depression. You have to be in this moment right now. There is no past. There is no future. What happened yesterday is done. It's gone. It's over. You're not the person you were yesterday. You're not your experiences from yesterday. It's done. And you're not tomorrow because it hasn't happened yet. All you are is right now. Let go of the things that trouble you. Stop worrying about the things that might in the future and live in the now. Be present. That's the best way. I would suggest that if she doesn't have a therapist, find a good therapist. Do a lot of reading. Don't drink caffeine or soda. Cut down on junk food. Don't smoke cigarettes. Don't smoke weed. Don't drink alcohol. Meditate and read. Those were keys for me. So that's the best answer I can give you.